A recap of this year's hate comments on the Worst Songs video, K-pop musicians have no rights, American artists steal your tax dollars, and more to come from your favorite angry Canadian. Soon to be angry American? At patreon.com/doseofbuckley. Hey Buckley, why do you talk about American politics? You're a stupid Canadian. Our politics don't affect you. Shut up and stay in your moose-infested maple syrup paved lane, you stupid leaf licker. Well, turns out that whole thing I've been saying for years about Canada and the US being a symbiote, that what happens there matters here? Well, just call me John Fetterman because it turns out I might be just a little bit right, eh? Late in 2024, Trump said that once he takes office, he would consider hitting Canada with a 25% tariff because apparently we're letting immigrants and fentanyl cross the border at an insane rate. I would bet more retirees go down to Florida every year than illegal immigrants cross the border, but anyway, now the Canadian government has to pretend to solve this problem to keep US trade relations good because, again, we both need each other. More on that in a second, but Trump joked that one possible solution would be that Canada becomes the 51st state, and that our current leader, Justin Trudeau, becomes a governor of this new state rather than a world leader. Again, this is all just a joke, right? Aw, Trump, he's just trolling. He made the same joke again a few days later, saying, and I don't do an impression of him, sorry, so he just says, "No one can answer why we subsidize Canada to the tune of over $100 million a year. Makes no sense. Many Canadians want Canada to become the 51st state. They would save massively on taxes and military protection. I think it is a great idea. 51st state." And you know Trump likes his unsourced hyperbole. Many Canadians are saying this, but in fact, after the first joke, a Ledger poll was taken and overall, 13% of Canadians said, "Yeah, but I'd go for that." While 82% said, "Kindly go fuck yourself, eh?" And 5% said, "I don't really give a fuck either way, bud." 13% is a pretty significant amount of people, especially for a joke. But as a guy who tells jokes for a living, at least for now, when you keep repeating the same joke, is it a joke? Like, to me, it sounds like when some dude who's stuck in the friend zone says to his girl who's just a friend, "Hey, like, you know it'd be really funny if we like kissed, right? Like, how funny would that be?" I'm just joking. And then, like, a few days or a week later, says, "Hey, so, like, remember how I said it'd be funny if we kissed? Yeah, like, no, I'm just joking, but, like, I don't know, might be worth trying, right?" And then when she says no, then it's not a joke anymore, and he's cry jerking it to her Instagram. So, let's talk about that $100 million. He's missing 2 or 3 zeros. But what he's referring to is the trade deficit. I know, this is going to be exciting, yay, math. But anyway, in 2022, the US imported $436 billion in goods from Canada, and exported $356 billion worth of goods to Canada. This leaves a trade deficit of $80 billion. That seems like a lot, right? Like when you buy someone a really expensive gift for Christmas, and they get you a fucking card and some chocolates, and you're like, what the fuck is this cheapo bullshit? Except when you consider the fact that Canada is 10 times less populated than the US. In reality, if the US is buying $436 billion worth of shit from us, we should only be buying $43 billion worth of shit. The fact that Canada is spending over 75% of what the US is spending on us is actually fucking nuts when you think about it. But again, it's not a subsidy. Everything the US buys from us, they need. It's not a charity. It's not like they're buying Girl Scout cookies outside a bank. Let me try and explain it in business terms, which of course are Trump's favorite terms. Let's say I own a hotel. It's called Rump Raj Mahal. And you own a beer company. Maybe it's called Badweiser. We enter a business arrangement where we stock our mini bars and any hotel bars and restaurants with Badweiser. And hey, anytime your staff is in Vegas for a trade show, you stay at one of my Rump hotels. Well, I'm gonna spend way more on beer than you'll ever spend on hotel rooms. That's just how it's gonna be. it would be absurd of me to go, this business arrangement's shit. I'm gonna start forcing you to pay me a 25% tax every time I buy from you. I'm buying that beer and selling it for a profit in my hotel. That $80 billion that the US is subsidizing Canada with isn't just being tossed into some sort of black hole. Like our healthcare system, am I right? No, America gets things. Lumber, oil, craft dinner, whatever, and then turns around and uses those things in hopefully profitable enterprises. Lumber to build houses, which are then sold. Oil to turn into gasoline to sell to people who drive cars to those houses. Craft dinner to eat, shit out, and gum up the toilets in those houses. All of these things are sold at a profit. That $436 billion worth of stuff the US is buying from us presumably becomes, what, $600, $700 billion, $1 trillion? I don't know. I'm not a politician. I'm just a fucking asshole. Which makes me qualified to be a politician, but anyway, let's talk about that joke. The solution to all of Canada's problems. What if we just became the 51st state? Well, it would solve a few problems for us. For example, would we then use US dollars? The Canadian dollar has been worth less than the US dollar since 2007. And before that, it hadn't achieved parity since 1976. Of course, this really only matters to the average Canadian when they're buying shit on eBay or traveling, but anyway, the claim is that it would also guarantee us the protection of their military, which our only threat is America. It feels like some mobsters coming into a business. Nice deli you got here. Shame if these glass cases would have get all smashed up. Perhaps you pay us some protection money and you don't scots to worry about that no more, capiche? Like, who else would we need to worry about? If Russia decided to attack, for example, the most likely route they would take is across the Bering Strait and into Alaska. So, we already got a shield. Luckily, the Earth is flat and they can't actually do that, right? But anyway, I don't think anyone's thought this through because if the big problem is, oh, Canada's flooding the US with illegal immigrants and fentanyl, then wouldn't becoming a US state mean those illegal immigrants and drugs are now in the USA? And now, there's no border to cross. If Canada's a big, scary safe haven for foreigners and drugs, and we become the 51st state, what's stopping someone from packing those foreigners full of drugs and driving them from Ontario to New York or British Columbia to Washington? Now with no border security, because there aren't secure borders between states. Feels like you didn't just invite the fox into the henhouse, you built the henhouse around the fox. And sure, 13% of Canadians might want to become Americans, but do Americans want us? I mean, certainly that would mean they wouldn't really have to spend $400 billion on lumber and oil anymore, but think of what that would really mean. Justin Bieber? American now. Drake? American. Just what the US needed, another groomer. Michael Bublé? Celine Dion? Nickelback? They're yours now. They're not Canadian. There is no Canada. They'd now be as American as apple pie. It would also just give you another lib state. Might as well call us Canadafornia, home of the Cucknucks. Same size and population as California, which would mean the same number of seats in the Electoral College. And like half of that population is basically in 10 major lib voting cities. Hell, even our conservatives believe socialized medicine is good, and it says right in their platform, a conservative government will not support any legislation to regulate abortion, but also supports a universal child care benefit, so more handouts, and believes in cost-effective gun control programs, and believes in legislation for personal vehicle emission testing and capping the emissions of corporations. In fact, the national conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, the man most likely to be prime minister next year, because we're sick of Trudeau, said, "I have the strength and the smarts to stand up for this country, and my message to incoming President Trump is that first and foremost, Canada will never be the 51st state of the US." If that's not a big Canadian fuck you to the President of the United States, I don't know what is. But really, the Canadian Conservative Party, on a political scale, is probably as left-leaning as the American Democrats. Is that what you really want? Another baby-killing, gun-controlling, welfare-giving, tree-hugging demon-crat state. We made our national anthem gender-neutral. Just think what we'll try and do to your bathrooms. Anyway, if you took all this too seriously, remember, it's all just a joke. I'm just joking about your jokes. But, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we actually did become the 51st state and then kissed? Like, wouldn't it just kind of be a little bit funny? Nah, I'm just joking. But,